The president and the harebrained people around him are increasingly fear-mongering around the stock market, saying if Biden wins in November, say goodbye to your 401ks. Here's actually a tweet from Donald Trump yesterday where he said, quote, if you want your 401ks and stocks, which are getting close to an all-time high, NASDAQ is already there, to disintegrate and disappear, vote for the radical left do-nothing Democrats and corrupt Joe Biden. Massive tax hikes. They will make you very poor fast. Now, I already dealt yesterday with how the overwhelming majority of Joe Biden's tax increases go to the top 1%. So I don't want to get derailed here, but remember my segment about how populist rhetoric can be used to bamboozle people? Trump ran with populist rhetoric. He's for the middle class and he's against all the oppressive factors that are oppressing the middle class. Joe Biden's going to raise taxes on the very rich, on the top 1%. And Trump, populist Trump, is now campaigning against it and scaring people about it. Doesn't sound very populist to me, does it? Anyway, that's not what I want to deal with today. I want to look at this claim. Biden would be bad for the stock market from a few different angles. Now, the first is just a reminder. Again, they are lying in the sense that the stock market does better under Democratic presidents. I will get to that data in a moment. But the other side of this that I think is always important to repeat when something like this comes up is that the Trump administration continues to say or believe or claim or pretend that you can measure how well an economy is doing by looking at the stock market, and you can't. So before we even get into the numbers of Democrats versus Republicans on the stock market, let me remind you, stock market performance does not tell you how well the economy is doing. Stocks are disproportionately owned by the wealthy and by big corporations. The more we learn about how do we evaluate how well or poorly an economy is doing, we understand that the stock market is a component, but it is merely one of many components we should be looking at. We must look at the employment rate and unemployment rate. We have to look at wage growth. We have to look at the quality of jobs. We must look at inflation and inequality. And really, you want to look at quality of life factors as well. What is life expectancy? Educational factors. Where is literacy, right? There are so many ways to figure out, like, how is a country doing, a big picture? But let's for a second grant them that there is an empirical reality. Stock markets either do better under Democratic presidential administrations or Republican presidential administrations. We can measure it. We can know this. There are a whole bunch of different ways to do it. So you've got to make some decisions. Like, I'll give you some examples. Do you adjust stock market for a performance for inflation or not when comparing Democratic and Republican performance? Do you calculate returns with dividends reinvested or not? Okay, so there's like little tweaks in terms of how you calculate it. No matter how you do it, every serious analysis finds that stocks do better under Democratic presidents than they do under Republican presidents. If you go back to 1929, on average, stocks make about 10% a year during Democratic presidencies and about 2% a year during Republican presidencies. That's one study from Forbes. Another study that looked only at the last 45 years or so found that the stock market return is about 14% per year under Democratic presidents, 10% per year under Republican presidents. Now, the difficulty of these numbers is that you can have sort of outlier years that can skew the averages. But from an empirical, historical perspective, the stock market does better when there's a Democrat in the White House instead of a Republican. But that's looking back, okay? We then should analyze, if we want to do this thoroughly, would changing from Trump to Biden likely raise the value of stock prices, lower the value, or make no change whatsoever? Very interesting new research from JP Morgan, which finds that if you look at a Biden replacement of Trump, it would either be neutral or slightly positive in terms of stock prices. And they also mentioned that adding a, quote, diplomatic approach could be good for stocks in that it would reduce volatility. Now, this is funny because it's JP Morgan. They're trying to just make it a just the facts analysis. They don't want to be political. Diplomatic approach is a polite term for Biden will be more normal, right? Biden will not constantly do crazy stuff. Markets like normal, markets like less volatility. And the other component that's more of an intangible, if we think about the effect of Biden replacing Trump on the stock market, is a Biden presidency would better deal with coronavirus. And because coronavirus is really the major drag on the economy right now, there are additional benefits we would expect to the economy from Joe Biden taking over for Donald Trump. We interestingly, we saw this under Bush Obama. The economy cratered under George W. Bush. Of course, 9/11 was a part of it, but certainly going to war with a country that didn't attack us did not help. Helped some defense stocks, but it did not help the economy overall. We saw the mortgage crisis devolve into the 2007-2008 recession. And then Barack Obama came in, inaugurated in January of 2009, and started to clean it up. Could have better cleaned it up for sure. Didn't do everything right, but that was the way it went. We could end up with a very similar dynamic under Trump Biden if Donald Trump is actually removed in November and made a one-term president. Not a guarantee, but something that could happen. We could see a similar dynamic where we see a proper economic recovery once again under a Democratic president. It remains to be seen, but the point is the argument that Biden would be worse for stocks than Trump, it doesn't fit the historical realities of stock markets under Democrats versus Republicans. And it doesn't even pass the sniff test when you think about replacing kooky, wild, wacky Donald Trump with someone in Joe Biden who would be no progressive hero, but would certainly bring back diplomacy and bring back some stability and bring back some sanity. Big day next Tuesday. We've got two huge things going on next Tuesday. It will be the third David Pakman Show chess tournament, 8 p.m. Eastern. You can sign up now at davidpakman.com/chess. This is totally free. I will be playing. We had over 700 players during the June tournament. Hope to do better than that. Sign up for free at davidpakman.com/chess. Number two, we lost like 300 members in the last week because we had a membership special last year. When those memberships came up for renewal this year because of the virus, a lot of people couldn't afford to renew. So sadly, we had like our worst 72 hours of membership ever. So next Tuesday, the same day as the chess tournament, we're going to do a one-day membership special. If you want to be notified of it, just get on my newsletter at davidpakman.com. We'll take a quick break and be back with much more right after this.